Hello everyone, Courtney Gruen Holes back here again. Your awkward author. So, as I've stated, I'm going to try to do videos talking about my books. Not maybe completely in depth, but just to give you a little bit of information about what they are about. General story. Sorry, my nose itches. So, and I guess the best place to start is the first book in the series. In all technicality, there's a prequel novel, but the first novel in my Heartsong Saga is Heartsong. So, and it is about, well, on the back I say it's about our main characters, our main couple, love interest. So, basically, though, it follows a fictional band called Cataluna, which I got from R.L. Stein's Fear Street series in a trilogy that he wrote called the Cataluna Chronicles, and I just always thought the name sounded cool. So I kind of also incorporate that a little into the prequel backstory. But, so, basically there is this band, Cataluna, they're a rock band, and they're from Seattle. So, and they, in the beginning of the book, they are Amos Dixon as the lead singer. There is bassist Garth Marcos, drummer Phil Dennis, keyboardist and sometimes acoustic guitarist Nora Anders, and lead guitarist Howard Richardson. So, I like the name Howard. So, and of course, I got it from Howard Leese, guitarist, or my first crush that I ever had. So, but they are in a band. They're struggling. They have a manager named Belinda Michaels, and she has a huge crush on Howard, and he's very oblivious to it. He's, he has other things on his mind. We learn a little later in the story that his parents died in a car accident around the time he graduated from high school, so he's actually, been living in his parents' old house and mostly throwing himself into his music with his friends in their band, trying to get a big start. So they end up learning that Amos's grandfather has passed away while his parents were visiting back in Louisville, Kentucky, where I'm from. So they urged the band to look for a new lead singer to take over Amos's spot. So they have tryouts, and at one of their performances, Howard notices a girl in the audience, and he becomes infatuated with her, and it's kind of unrequited because she's in the crowd and then she leaves, and he doesn't know anything about her. We learn from the girl's perspective, her name is Nancy Astern. I like the name Nancy. Nancy Wilson part. There is a heart theme through these books if you're sly enough to catch them. So she also went to the concert and became enamored with Howard. And as fate would have it, she tries out to be the lead singer for the band. They see each other again, and they begin blossoming a romance. All the while, Belinda learns about this, and she's not too happy about it because she has a major crush on Howard. So, but everybody else in the band, they get along with Nancy. They're all cohesive. They have sort of a little family that they develop, and of course, Howard and Nancy start developing really romantic feelings for each other. So it just kind of explores that, but Belinda starts scheming, trying to break them up, and she enlists help from a man named Clive Nevison to try and break Howard and Nancy apart. The thing is, Clive's a warlock, and Belinda practices witchcraft, so she's going to try to use witchcraft to kind of keep them apart. And other characters that get thrown in are Nancy's uncle Julian, her in the beginning, he says he's her maternal uncle, but he's actually her paternal uncle, which gets explored in later books. And then there's also Jennifer Maximilian, who is Nora's cousin. She's German-Italian, so she's lived in Europe, but she comes back to Seattle and ends up starting a little relationship with Phil, their drummer, and she gets entangled in the story as well. So mostly a lot of plotting to try to break up Howard and Nancy as a couple, and then they learn that in their past life they were star-crossed lovers that were cursed by a witch who happens to be Belinda's past life. And everybody's past life is thrown together in this big old mix. So that's how everybody's connected. And the story follows, of course, Howard and Nancy getting married and having children, but things pop up involving Belinda still trying to end their relationship, and it mostly goes through the book. It skips a couple of years. Just a lot of things happen with Belinda trying to, basically kill Nancy and, end up having Howard for herself. And it skips a lot of years. Their children grow into different ages, and that's actually planned because that's what a lot of future books that I'm writing right now. So they fill in the gaps of these holes with these other stories. So if you're wondering why there are gaps, it's because I have these planned for a while to fill in the gaps with other books. And of course, I wrote this story on the spur of the moment a long time ago, like 2004. And I started writing it around the time I started a relationship with my boyfriend, who is now my husband. So I was in a kind of really romantic mood, because I actually started writing before when I was in a previous relationship. And ironically, when that relationship ended, my first draft of my story for Heartsong got lost. So I started it again in a new relationship, and everything just flowed the way that it did. Even though I had to rewrite everything from memory because I lost my original copy. My floppy disk, or my little diskette, started like reformatting itself. So that's how I got about to writing it the way I did. And not to give away too much of a spoiler, but at the end of the book, there is not really a happy ending. It's because it's a setup for the sequel novel, Reprise. So I won't get into the spoiler about it because I'll probably spoil it when I tell you about the second book. But so that's mostly how the first book goes. It almost, I will admit that it seems like it's repetitive in the ways that Belinda tries to ruin Howard and Nancy's relationship, but she has a one-track mind. She wants one thing and one thing only. So, so I did write it with, a lot of like cheesy romance, hokey stuff on it. So, but as I mentioned, I was starting a new relationship, and that's kind of just how my mindset was when I wrote this book. And like I said, there are a lot of like little sly nods, little heart Easter eggs just planted all over my books. So you have to be very, into liking Heart to see all these Easter eggs. But I'm kind of planning on maybe writing like a guide to my series that I might publish. I don't know, where it kind of tells in depth everything about the stories, plots, everything. So, but that's basically what it is. I wouldn't say that it's so full of hokey, cheesy romance that a guy couldn't read it, which is another reason why I wanted a cover that was kind of almost gender neutral. But, when I did it before, I had this like little abstract idea because I couldn't find the image that I wanted. And every time I tried to put it on the cover, they'd say, well, this image doesn't fit. And So I just had to find something. So I went through for an abstract thing until I actually was able to come up with this cover. See? Man playing guitar, no face. You can put the face of the character on there. But, you know, our male romantic lead, he's a guitarist. It fits. So it's gender neutral. I mean, so I wouldn't say that it was cheesy romance. So there are, you know, romantic scenes that would probably make a man kind of nauseous because, well, that's just what it is. But so there's really, you know, romantic subplots, and then, you know, the members of Cataluna are family. You know, they're like brothers and sisters. You know, they care about each other, and they've been through a lot. The band with Amos has been through a lot, and then the band when Nancy joins, they go through a lot. They're a family. And, you know, there are things that happen in the book that have them all at odds with each other, but in the end, they're all a family, and they try to help each other get through all these dark patches. And then, you know, it involves, you know, how Nancy have kids, they have a son and a daughter, and, you know, a wrench gets thrown into their perfect lives. So it's not exactly completely, you know, sunshine and rainbows. There's, you know, conflict that happens. So, but I try to give them, you know, senses of humor and try to make them as human as possible, so you're reading it and they just don't seem like they're generic. I want you to think that they're real people. I mean, this world that I built in these stories, I tried to make it as realistic as possible, and so I really have to put it as romance because that's basically what it is, but it could just be a general fiction book with romantic elements. I mean, there's comedy, there's tragedy, there's, you know, like I said, it's not exactly like a bodice ripper. It's not like 50 Shades of Grey, but, you know, the characters are human, you know. So, I mean, I think anyone could read it. Like I said, men might be thrown off a little bit by the romantic elements, but it's an engaging story. To me, anyway. I mean, I'm biased. It took me a long time to write this book, and, you know, I've had it around forever, and I feel like other people could read it and enjoy it. So, that's why I have it out here. And now that I have a daughter, I always thought that if I had a daughter, one day I could show her these and be like, you know, Mommy can write a book and get it published. You can do whatever you want. She wants to be a writer, wants to read books, she can do whatever. But, you know, to show you that you can do things if you put your mind to it. So, and as I said, the first time I did it, it had no page numbers. I went back and fixed it. I go back and look at my original copy all the time and try to find the errors that maybe I missed in here, and, you know, trying to refine it. There's a lot of blank space here in the back part, but it is 449 pages, so it's a pretty thick book. So it's pretty thick, but it doesn't look any different than any books that I've seen, except it's not like really thin. So it's 449 pages. I'd probably, if I could, maybe eventually go down the line and fix it. I might actually add a table of contents for the chapters, because in the first 4 Heartsong books, all the chapters actually do have titles. The later ones that I'm writing now don't have chapter titles, so I could go back and fix that. So there's a lot of stuff I could tweak, but again, I'm my own editor and, you know, cover artist and everything, so I had to do everything on my own. But it's not that hard. It helps you go through and do spell check and everything. And I guess sometimes I get so excited I just, you know, ignore it. But that is basically what the main focus of the Heartsong saga is. It's based on Howard and Nancy Richardson's relationship developing from them meeting, and then a prequel going a little bit before Heartsong begins, and then there are gaps that get filled in between, and lots of jumps in time before like the next stories. So basically, the first Heartsong novel kind of does a span of like 20-something years. So, and then all the years and stuff that we don't touch at in the first book, you get touched at in these other little like midquel kind of stories that I'm in the process of writing. I have all of them done. I'm working on the last one. I'm planning to publish them in kind of this omnibus thing where there's 2 books in one, because all these stories are not as long that if I tried to publish them as one book, they would be incredibly pancake thin. So I'm working on basically stories that are going to be 2 books in one, and I hope to get those published soon. I just really want to get this one done, so then I can just focus on going back through them and then publishing them. I'm planning on 5 of them, so that's 10 stories that fill in these little gaps between Heartsong and then Heartsong Reprise, which is the second book, and then ones that fit gaps in between Heartsong Reprise and Heartsong Rebirth, which is the third book. So that's basically where we start, where we're going to go. But in my next video, we're going to talk about the sequel book to Heartsong. So there will be some spoilers. So that doesn't mean I want you to go on Amazon and buy a paperback copy and read it. Again, you can get all my books on Amazon on a Kindle for $2.99. So if you don't want to spend like $15, $14, again, I should probably list how much these books are on Amazon. But again, if you go to Amazon.com, books, enter Courtney Gruenholz, Gruenholz, in your little search thing, my books will pop up. So, again, this isn't easy for me. This is awkward. I have to do all of this myself. So, until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and maybe, I don't know, give my book a try. I mean, you don't have to like it. You get it on your Kindle. You don't want it anymore, you can get rid of it. So, but I know some people like actually reading books. So, if it's something you want to put on a wish list for later, then go right ahead. If I've convinced you, hopefully I have. But, I mean, you don't have to do it for my benefit. But, hopefully you'll come back and watch our next video. So, until then, have a pleasant day.